Kaiji, thank you so much for visiting Puerto Rico. So far, how's your experience in the island?
Oh, beautiful, amazing! It's my first time here, and we just visited Old San Juan,
Right.
and the food is incredible. It's it's a little warm, but it's nothing I'm not used to. Like we come from California, it's like we're on fire most of the time. So yeah, it's been a beautiful experience. Me and my wife are already talking about coming back. Maybe during we keep saying Christmas is like the best time to come, right? And it lasts for months, right? And apparently the food is even better during Christmas time. So I'm like super psyched about that.
Nobody lied to you. That's all true.
Oh, heck yeah. I love hearing that.
I can tell you, I live in Washington, D.C., and that's my favorite season to visit the family.
Oh,
Christmas.
nice.
Only thing I can tell you, watch out, forget about the weight. You want to get at least 10 pounds for sure.
I look forward to it. Yeah. I'll prepare myself. I'll go to the gym.
So the first question, from Gojo, from Jujutsu Kaisen, Archer from Fate, Berserker, and Detective Pikachu, you have a lineup of characters that are full of rage or wisdom. How do you get into the mindset to be able to switch between these different personalities?
Well, I mean, for a lot of them, yeah, it's like I play a lot of dudes who need therapy, basically, right? Like that's my typecast. Except for Detective Pikachu, he's pretty nice. Anyone who does acting for a long enough time, we come across different avenues of producing various ways to make the audience feel what they're supposed to feel during a scene, right? When you first start acting, a lot of young actors feel like, I want to sound cool, right? Or I want to look cool. When in reality, the actor's job is to take the story, right? And if it's a sad scene, you make the audience feel sad. If it's a exciting scene, you make them feel hyped. Your whole job as an actor is to make the person watching you understand and absorb the story beats that are happening right now at the right times, right? So if I have to make you feel a little sad, or if Guts is going through something and you're supposed to feel empathetic for him, then it's not my job to make him sound cool or whatever. It's my job to make him resonate with you empathetically, right? So for you to be like, oh man, Guts is going through some stuff, right? So if you do enough with enough years, and you practice enough emotional recall, it becomes pretty second nature. About a decade into it becomes pretty second nature. But yeah, I've just been doing it for a while, I guess. That's a long story.
Okay, so you're speaking about experience. So when do your career as a voice actor really start? Because people will say, "Oh, voice actor, anime, but also anime fans." So when did it really start?
I would say probably around 2006 to 2007. That I had just graduated with a degree in theater from UCR, and I told myself I really want to. Any sort of acting, I don't care what kind of acting. I wanted to go to Los Angeles and get my hands on whatever acting I could. And it just so happened my first year there, I got in contact with a dubbing studio, Bang Zoom Entertainment, and they were doing a podcast about anime. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun, right? And I found out Johnny Young Bosch was the host of it. And I knew so little about voiceover at the time. I only knew him as the Black Power Ranger, right? So I was like, I want to be a part of a show with the Black Power Ranger. That sounds so amazing, right? So I did that show with them, and then through that show, the director was like, hey, I kind of like the sound of your voice. Would you like to come in and maybe read for a couple of shows? And 17 years later, here I am.
I have a question that's not anime. This is more for video games. I saw that you do have a couple of video games under your skills.
Yes, sir.
You did some a voice for the game New World.
Oh, yeah.
Do you play New World?
I did pick up New World for a couple of months. Because my schedule is wonky, I dropped out of it. I drop out of 90% of the games I play now. But it was beautiful. It was a lot of fun. Every once in a while, they'll call me back and I'll record a couple of new lines for the game. They have the DLCs that come out. But yeah, New World was a fun experience. That was a COVID project, I believe. I recorded all of it from home. So nowadays we are able to go back to the studio a little more, but because I started out of the studio, they keep calling me from the remote sessions.
Okay.
So yeah, it's I haven't gone in to record that game, but my entire experience of it is in my little study, in my little computer room.
So you started playing the game a little bit. What were your weapons of choice? Your two weapons?
Okay. I remember I did I had the rifle for sure. I had the rifle and I think a two-handed, was it a two-handed sword? It was a sword. It was either a one-handed or a two-handed sword. I don't remember if I had a shield. And I was liking the gameplay, but like I said, I'm traveling a lot, so I dropped out of it a little bit. But my sister plays it a lot, and she tells me all the time when she hears me, it's like, oh yeah, you gave me a quest at a bar, like.
So when we speak about anime, again, Gojo, this inspiration to many people, cosplaying, all such roles. But Gojo is a very interesting character.
Hey, it's a little quirky.
Were you about to get into the recording booth? How did you prepare yourself for a character that needs to show wisdom or kind of sassy in a very unique way?
Yeah. When I first auditioned for Jujutsu Kaisen, I actually didn't know much about it. I almost passed up the audition actually because I was like really tired that day. I was like, it's another anime audition. Do I really want to do this? And I ended up doing it. My wife hates that story because she's like, you almost didn't audition for Goat, but when I learned more about the character, I'm going to be completely honest. The first 15 minutes of me researching him, I didn't like him very much. I was like, he's kind of a jerk, he's really rude, he's really disrespectful. Why do people like him so much? But then, as I started to research him more and read more about him and his backstory, all that, I was like, oh, there's a lot of layers here, he grew up in this weird kind of he had this responsibility and privilege, right? And he had to kind of balance this, and he's really lonely, and so I found his wisdom and his personality and ideology further along in my research, right? At the beginning, it was kind of touch and go. I was like, oh God, he's a jerk. Yeah.
So I might be crossing some lines here. When you start dubbing for Gojo, how much do you know about his background? Because for us who have been watching the season 2 and the new season, we're finding out that he has a very hard background.
Right.
So technically, you were challenged by the beginning that have a character that was carry a very heavy background. So how much do you know about this?
So the first episode that he's introduced, I believe that's episode 2, right, in the original series. At that point, I had still not learned too much about him. That was at the point where I was still like, oh, okay, Gojo, people seem to like the show. The director could only tell me so much about his personality, right? So they gave me the bare bones skeleton. We worked on the character for that second episode. And then after that second episode came out, then I really, really started to read the manga and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, there's so much here. The JJK Zero stuff and then his background with Gato and all that stuff. So I very quickly was able to incorporate a lot of that stuff. But episode 2, I didn't have that. I had to rely on the cold reading skills. Every voice actor who does any sort of video games or anime, we have to be master cold readers. 99% of the time when you hear someone in a first episode of an anime, no one knows anything about the characters. No one knows anything. We have to just use cold reading to make it sound like we know, right? But yeah, the majority of my research into Gojo came after episode 2.
And let me say, you're one of the privileged voice actors that has seen their work jumping from the small to the TV screen to the big screen.
That's right.
On theater. So today's day, I can say that there's a wake up right now resonance with the anime industry, and for the first time we see so many anime moving the big screen.
Yeah.
Were you ever cross your mind that by doing anime you will hear yourself in the big screen?
No, absolutely not. I started 17 years ago, right? When I started, no one recommended doing anime. If you were in Los Angeles and you knew people, they're like, commercials, Western cartoons, video games. Stay away from anime. You'll never make a living. No, it's a joke. That was basically the feeling. I had people I respected, right, would tell me, it's like, dude, don't waste your time, right? But I love anime. I'm a big anime fan. I came into it as a big anime fan. I'm like, okay, even if it doesn't pay that much, I'm gonna do it because that's where my heart is, right? But to see anime embraced globally here in 2023 is incredible. I mean, anime fans won the culture war. You know what I mean? It is to say it's mainstream now would be downplaying it. You know what I mean? JJK Zero launched just behind Batman. You know what I mean? This close. That was crazy, right? The Mugen Train anime movie, #1 of animated films globally. Insane, right? And it's just getting better and better and better. So no, I had no idea this was going to happen, and it's such a pleasant surprise.
Definitely. One of my favorite anime character from Fate Zero, Archer.
That's
And again, we go back to another character that might be kind of mean, kind of asshole, but it's carry a very heavy background story. And those who have seen the series have a more heavy finale. How was the experience giving your voice to Archer?
Incredible, because you know how I just told you I was an anime fan before I got into voiceover, right?
Yeah.
I played the original Fate Stay Night visual novel when I was a kid, right? Years before I did anime. So I was always a Fate fan. I went into voiceover a Fate fan. And when I saw that audition, I freaked out. Because I don't know if folks know, the original voice of Archer from the Studio Dean interpretation was Liam O'Brien, right? And Liam O'Brien was also in Fate Zero as I think the mage with the insects. That was that guy, right?
Caster.
Yeah. Oh no, not Caster.
He was
he was like a human. He was a master, right? He was a master of one of the servants, and he had like these insect powers.
The magician of the worms.
I think so. Yeah. He stepped into that role, so they needed someone who wasn't Liam to step into Archer's shoes. So I was fortunate enough to get the audition, and I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, are you not coming back to the role?" He gave me his blessing, and it was really intimidating because not only was I very familiar with the character, I was stepping into like this really amazing actor's shoes. So it was an amazing time. If that was like in 2014, if I went back and did it, maybe I would do a couple things different, but I don't regret doing it. It was an amazing experience, and I will always come back for Archer whenever they need me.
When I see your social media, you usually reflect like a person of wisdom, reading.
Wisdom.
I'm like, he's really like this and doing a great job. So, do you feel like you share some characteristics with the characters that you dub? Because most of them they also are wisdom characters.
Well, my wife says that I troll like Gojo a lot. So if you believe her, that's absolutely true. No, like Twitter. If you follow my Twitter, it's technically a business Twitter. I should be using it more for business, but like I'm like that meme where it's like every stray thought I have, I just sort of tweet, right? And my wife's like behind me being like, "You don't need to post everything. You don't need to post every thought." I'm like, "But babe, like Coke milk, what is it? Chinese food burrito, it's Twitter is like this fun outlet for me to have a good time, and I very rarely use it for business, and no one really reads it for business anyway. I'm fairly unhinged on there. So if you would like to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, right? Yeah, that'd be great.
So we got one more question on video games, and this one is for the new game coming soon, the Jujutsu Kaisen First Clash. So you got to voice Gojo again, right? But now in the video game.
Yeah.
How was your experience doing Gojo for the game instead of just the regular anime?
It was fun. I'm in a lot of fighting games, so I'm pretty used to the tempo of recording those things, and they're really aggressive, actually. Every single time you hit someone in a fighting game, we have to record those, right? So it's like 50, 100, 300 fighting reacts, maybe in the span of 3 hours, But otherwise, the story stuff was really fun because we got to sort of rehash the first season. We got do a little bit of JJK Zero, right? And there's some like added content they put into there that wasn't in the original show. So it was kind of fun recording original stuff that we didn't get to see. We all sort of wanted to see more of like the kids interact in like their everyday lives. There's a little bit of that in the game. So it was a lot of fun. But the thing is, right, I voiced Gojo, right? So he doesn't work very hard, right? Imagine Gojo in a fighting game. There's not a lot of like, like he doesn't do that. He doesn't need to. So in that way, it was the easiest time I had in a fighting game because a lot of his stuff was like, like he doesn't have to work too hard. I didn't have to scream. It was actually really nice. Like I wish like, because I'm the new voice of Sub-Zero for Mortal Kombat, right? And in that game, I was dying. Like at the end, like, you will die at the end of a Mortal Kombat session. They do not let up on you. It's like, all right, acid, fire, you're falling onto spikes. It's like all that stuff. I didn't have to deal with that with Gojo. It was a really good time.
So before I wrap it up, so you experienced a full weekend with a full bilingual audience here in Puerto Rico, and that it was very clear how much love we have for you as your role. Any message for those youngsters that they're looking into the anime dubbing world? Like any encouragement words for them?
Yeah, absolutely, you guys. If you have dreams of being a voice actor for anything, right? Video games, cartoons, anime. I wish you the best of luck. It is. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is a tough job to get into, right? The chances of success in it are on paper fairly low, right? But if it is your dream and it is your passion and it is what you want, when you start working professionally and when you start making these connections with people, they'll notice. People who are in charge of casting will notice if you are passionate about being good at acting. The ones that don't make it are the ones who just want sort of like the glam, you know what I mean? Like the clout, you know what I mean? And the casting folks can kind of sniff that out, right? But if you are truly passionate about acting, if you're truly passionate about sounding, if you're telling stories and portraying these characters, people will notice. And if you work at it hard enough and long enough, something will happen. People will bring you in. Yeah.
Kaiji, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
You're always welcome back to Puerto Rico anytime.
Yeah. Christmas, let's go. Let's do it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you,
See
bro.
you later.
Absolutely,
okay?
bro.
Later.